under fractions. And division. Division under fractions. That would be simply this. Let me look and see what example problems I give you here. Where is it? Ooh. Huh. Well, let's do this. 6 divided by 3/4. You will remember the book tries to lead you on how to figure this out by doing this first. They'll say, well, what is 1 divided by 3/4? Or how many 3/4 are in 1? We did that, which is what, Evelyn?
1 divided by 3/4, 4 over 3.
4 over 3. And then they say, well, if you have actually 6 of them instead of 1, that means you have 6 of these added together. But you don't need to do that because today we come up with a very simple, easy method to divide by fractions, which you're going to write down. To divide by fractions, a fraction, comma, you multiply by the fractions reciprocal. I also simply put this in 6th grade terms as AKA, quotation mark, flip and multiply. Dividing by fractions are as easy as multiplying by fractions because they're the same thing. In other words, this. If I've got my 6 divided by 3/4, okay, that is the exact same thing. Is in order to do this problem, I am going to change the division sign to a multiplication sign and take the reciprocal of this. 6 divided by 3/4 is the same thing as 6 times 4/3. But don't forget you need to make this a fraction, Parker, by doing what to it?
6 over 1.
Put it over 1, and then that's just a multiplication problem. Boom. And it's always the second fraction you flip. Okay, so this would be 24 over 3, which simplifies down to 8. If it was a fraction divided by a fraction, if it was 1/2 divided by 1/3, it is the second fraction that gets flipped. The 1/2 stays the same. This is 1/2 times 3 over 1. And if you do that, you end up with 3 over 2, which you can't leave as improper. You make it 1 and 1/2. Doesn't that just make you get chills? Here, write this problem down because now we're going to talk a little story problem here, which seems to give people problems. Pads, the pads were stacked 12 inches high on a shelf. Pads of paper were stacked 12 inches high on the shelf. What an exciting sentence that is, boys and girls. The thickness of each pad was 3/4 of an inch. The thickness of each pad was 3/4 of an inch. How many pads were stacked? This, by the way, would be a tough problem actually for many adults. I'm just going to tell you that. But you, being wise beyond the age of 6th graders, would know, Wade Davis, that the first thing you need to do is...
Write down the problem.
No, I don't expect you to write everything. Yeah, sketch it out. So what does my sketch look like? Well, you know you've got a 12-inch high stack of papers, or pads, I guess they are. This is 12 inches high. You don't know how many there are. right? Here's my stack of papers. If you want to go 3D on me, you can do that. Go like this. Okay, they're all stacked 12 inches high. How thick is each pad? Each pad is 3/4 of an inch. Okay? So the question is, how many of those would it take to make that? Now listen to me. If you learn nothing from today, listen to this. People struggle with fractions, right? Just because they're not as easy to work with. So if you're one of those people, and I would raise my hand on that, what you need to do, people, is think about what process you would do by changing the fraction to a number. For example, if I said I had a 12-inch high stack of pads, and each pad was 2 inches high, how many pads would it take to make 12 inches, Tyler?
6.
And the question is, what did you do to get 6? You did what? And that's the same thing you'll do with the fraction. You did 12 divided by 6. Well, the 12 is right, but the 6 isn't 6, it's actually 3/4. So instead of 12 divided by 6, you have to divide by 3/4. That's the process you do. And now that you're smart enough to divide by fractions, this should be not too much trouble because it is the same thing as 12 times 4/3. And you multiply across, you get 48 over 3. 3 goes into 48 how many times? Anybody going once, going twice? 16 if you do the math. There would be 16 of these 3/4 pads of paper, 3/4 inch pads of paper to make a 12 inch. So the valuable lesson here is if you don't like fractions, put whole numbers in there just to figure out what you do with it. Which one gets divided by which one, because it'd be pretty easy to mix that up too in this whole thing. I don't know. They ask me stuff like that. Should we, let's look for another one, because I can tell you're very, very excited about that. You are not confused.
No, I'm not confused.
See? You are there, that's exactly. Lesson number 50, you gotta find a problem that says 50 here besides that one.
I can see clear.
Here, another one. We'll open your books to page 262. Page 262, problem number 2 on tomorrow's assignment is just like the one we talked about. Jack keeps his music CDs stacked in a plastic box, 3/8 inch thick. Use the method taught in this lesson to find out the number of boxes in a stack 6 inches tall. So same thing, you've got a stack 6 inches tall. And they're CDs, so we have to make them a little bigger. CDs aren't very. Each CD is 3/8 of an inch thick. The question is, how many CDs would it take to make a stack 6 inches tall? Like I said, again, if you don't know which one to do with what, or you don't know what to do, change this fraction to a whole number. Well, and I took maybe, what if each one was 2 inches? Let's do 2 inches again. How many 2-inch tall CDs would it take to make 6 inches?
3.
3. What did you do? You took 6 inches and divided it by 2 inches. Well, they're not 2 inches tall, they're 3/8 of an inch tall. So instead of the 2, I actually have 6 divided by 3/8. And one thing you'll realize here, people, anytime you divide by a fraction, your answer will be what? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. If you divide a number by a fraction, contrary to what you think happens when you divide, your answer will be bigger than the number you start with. You know, normally we do division and we get a smaller number than we started with. I can tell you if I divide 6 by 3/8, because 3/8 is less than 1, I am going to get a number higher than 6, because 6 divided by 1 is 6. If I divide by something smaller than 1, I can get a lot more pieces in it. 6 divided by a half is, how many halves are in 6? No.
12.
12. 6 divided by 1/2 is 12. You get 12 1/2s and 6. So my answer when I get done with this better be bigger than 6, because if each of these CDs were 1 inch tall, I'd get 6, but they're not, they're smaller than that, so I get more CDs. So this is the same thing as 6 times 8/3. No, look, it's the same answer. You get 48 divided by 3. You get 16 of them again. 16 CDs stacked on top of each other. If they're each 3/8 of an inch, we'll give you a 6-inch stack. Isn't that handy? You know, that'd be here. I'll give you another for example. If you have a stack of nickels, and I would say a nickel is about 1/8 of an inch tall. If you have an 7-inch stack of nickels, how many nickels is that? If each nickel is 1/8 of an inch tall. And it's going to be the exact same thing. Oh, I guess I gotta draw around things. My nickels. I know my stack is 7 inches tall. Each nickel is 1/8, and by now you're probably getting the gist of what's going to happen. I want to know how many 1/8s I can get out of 7 inches. So it's going to be division 7 divided by 1/8. How many nickels would it take to make a stack? Same thing as 7 times 8/1. 56 nickels it would take to make a stack 7 inches tall. Which makes sense, 6 inches. That would be about right, because you get 8 nickels to an inch. A dime is about 1/16 of an inch tall, so how many dimes would you get to a stack 7 inches tall?
112.
Oh.
112.
Yeah, 7 times 42. Makes sense? Is it 42? 7 times 16. 4 and 1 there. Take out your notes then under, we still got a little more to do. Decimals. Under decimals,